Think of the people you interact with every day. Would you want to spend a day in a canoe with them? I'm Nathan Mercereau, and as a financial advisor with over 25 years of experience, I've learned that the quality of the people you spend time with is a lot more valuable than what can show up in a set of financial projections. And growing up in Canada, I discovered you can learn a lot about a person when you spend a day in a canoe with them. So I created this show where I interview people I find interesting and inspiring. I invite you to listen in and learn from their stories so you can create the life you want, one filled with wealth, wisdom, meaning, and purpose. Well, today I'm delighted to be joined by Desirée Bombenon. Desirée is the president and CEO for SureCall Contact Centers, a global outsourced business solution company. She's also the CEO of Desirée Imports, an award-winning boutique wine, craft beer, and special spirits importer, CEO of Men Are in a Miniskirt, an organization leading the way for young females to reach their greatest potential, and a published fictional author for her books, The Offering and The Congregation. Desirée, welcome to Day in a Canoe. It is a pleasure to connect. We've had many great conversations in the YPO events or travels, a few drinks along the way too, a lot of laughs. Really delighted for you to be here and share your story to listeners. And you've had such an accomplished career, from all the things that I mentioned to being listed as one of Canada's top most 100 powerful women. And you have been a world traveler, a real agent of change. What do you see or reflect on as as really the top accomplishment that is near and dear to you?
Well, first, thank you for having me, Nathan. It's such a pleasure to get a chance to just chat with you. And I've been looking forward to this since the last time I saw you. So it's great. Thank you very much. I would say that, these accomplishments come along the way, and some of them, are very, very personal and memorable. And a lot of them, and I would say every one of them, I can contribute to the work that I do with other people and the collaboration that I have with my team at my office. And so these hard worked, awards and recognitions never come alone, right? You're always earning them with somebody else or a team. And so I would say, though, that the one I'm most proud of, and I don't think it's really an award. It was more of a recognition, and it's one that I got from the United Nations. And it was an Enabler of Vision award that I got at the UN Summit in 2017. And the reason I think that one is meaningful is because it came from the work that I've been doing around a project that I started called Hero Girls. And that's a project that's empowering women and girls and educating them in underserved and disparate communities around the world. And so that program launched in 2018 on the International Day of the Girl, 2016 on the International Day of the Girl. And it's been a program ongoing since then. And I've just really loved the fact that we've been able to, help these young girls prosper, get education, give them scholarships, help women's groups with microloans, and really raise the prosperity of the villages and the communities that they live in by doing so.
Well, that's an amazing story, and congratulations on that recognition. So if we wind the clock back, what was the genesis of looking at some of those areas that you're mentioning? Like what, in terms of social impact and social change, where was the fire lit on those fronts?
Yeah, I think the fire was lit like when I was like 4. I don't know exactly when, but I've always had this notion, growing up, my parents were immigrants. I moved to Canada when I was 3 years old, and back then, so many years ago, I'm not going to tell you how long ago, but it was many years ago. The environment was very different, in terms of equity. I grew up in an era of bullying, racial tensions, that sort of thing. And especially when you were a female as well, on top of that, So I didn't get all the opportunities, and I didn't get, and quite often, there was a bit of oppression where, I felt like I could not say what I wanted to say, do what I wanted to do, and often got left out, like I said, of opportunities that I should have also been able to participate in. So I guess it started way back then with this idea that what can I do with my life that could help other people this in the same situation. When I was very young, I wanted to be a police officer for that very reason, because I wanted to help others. And then as I grew up, I thought, police officers, I want to do something, that maybe makes me a little bit more money while still helping people. And then I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I thought, lawyer, I'm so glad I didn't become a lawyer, right? And then, as I grew into my role with the company I have right now, I started when I was very young, when I was 21, in communications technology. And then as things happened for me and progressed, and I was able to become more successful, I thought it was time for me to pay back and do some of those things that I always wanted to do when I was a child.
Along that journey, I'm sure there were a lot of ups and downs. And sometimes when we look back, sometimes the hard parts are the most meaningful, in the sense that we're learning something, we're working through something, we're building new skills. As you look for any defining moments in your journey or career, what stands out in terms of either people or situations that are kind of those pivotal moments that help define, even if it's a small step, but it's in the right direction?
There were probably many, pivotal points. I think sometimes we don't remember all of them because we're in it at the time. But I know that, probably every one of us has either a teacher or a coach or a mentor or somebody that really ignited or sparked something in them. And when I was in grade 3 and 8 years old, which I hear for some reason it is a very pivotal age in a young person's life, when, they can be very impacted by an adult coach or mentor. My grade 3 teacher, Mrs. Black, was an amazing individual who listened and cared and really, took to heart everything her students needed and were going through. And one of the things she noticed was how quiet I was, and how I wasn't really interacting with the rest of the kids and that sort of thing. And she kind of took me aside, and she'd have these little conversations with me about, how girls can do anything boys can do, and that, it doesn't matter about, who I am, where I came from, what my heritage was, that I could be just as successful as anybody else in the class. And I think those little conversations that I had with her really spurred me on to be a little bit more bold and ambitious through the rest of my education. And I go back and I think about all of the people and professors and everybody else that I had, but that I keep coming back to her right at the start that, triggered all of this moving forward.
Well, I think there's many points of influence that occur at a young age, and I'm grateful for the teachers, the influencers that we have in our lives. And I think that's such a pivotal early stage life experience to learn lessons and to receive guidance. If you wouldn't mind sharing with listeners a little bit about your business interest and some of the things that have developed, just tell us what is going on with SureCall and some of the businesses that you've developed over the years.
Maybe I'll start with the wine business. It was so.
That's a good place to start. I agree.
Of course it is. It was so interesting because I always joke around about that. I say, business got so crazy that I actually had to start up a wine business because I couldn't afford to pay more than wholesale for the wine I was buying to get me through it all. But really, it was more about I always take an interest in, the things that I'm doing. And my husband and I were collecting wines at the time, and I didn't know anything about wine. So I thought I better get an education in this. And as I was learning about it, I got really interested in, all of the background and all of the regions and all of the varietals, all of that stuff. And I started taking courses, and I ended up taking a sommelier course. And then as I became a sommelier, which now helped me with my wine cellar and understanding what I was purchasing, I thought, I have this education. I should do something with it. And, I'm a lifelong learner. As you and I know, being in YPO, that's part of what we love about the organization is our ongoing opportunity to learn more and more. And so I always want to do something with the education I get. So I started the wine business, and that sort of rolled over a little bit into craft beer because of the fact that in the region I'm in, we don't make very good wine, but we make really good craft beer. So that's that business. The mentor and the mini skirt business was really more about being able to share what I've learned just, through the years with other young women who want to, have me as either an advisor or just somebody to share my experiences with, or to share their experiences with me. And I learn a lot from those shared encounters as well. And then SureCall, which is, my YPO company and the one that takes up all of my time, is well, I'll give you the definition of what SureCall is in the 30-second spiel here. We're a purpose-driven business process optimization company. So say that, 5 times in a row without stumbling.
Especially with a glass of wine.
Yeah, it's a long one, so we say BPO. But people think BPO is just business process outsourcing, but we say optimization for a reason, because we utilize a hybrid of people and digitization to create innovative solutions for our clients. So it's about using, integrations, technology, and complex task management designs to create workflows that streamline businesses and then keeps while keeping, quality of those transactions really high, and also the customer's experience exemplary, because that's, the whole reason you want to outsource is to be able to maintain that high level of service for your clients. So I got into that just because I was, going to university and I needed to get a job. And I started out in their frontline call center. At the time, it was a company called Page Direct, and it morphed, and I grew with the company and had many leadership roles through the company, and ended up, of course, in 2013, becoming the CEO. And at that point, I pivoted the company to a purpose-driven entity, to a social enterprise, as opposed to just a business like it was before.
That's a remarkable story and a remarkable vision. There's a number of listeners who are probably in the midst of running their business or leading their organizations, and they're like, I believe in purpose, I believe in impact, but I believe in the bottom line. What advice or insight do you give people who want to become more purpose-driven, but may not be able to see the path clearly at this point?
Well, I think it's really important to understand that these days, in order to attract and retain young talent, you have to have some type of purpose behind what you do. There's a large percentage, I think it's something like 70. Yeah, that's right. McKinsey's research says that 70% of people say that they define their purpose through their work. So people are now associating their brand, right, their personal brand, with the places that they work at. So when you think about being able to hire, retain, and attract new talent and great talent, you have to understand that those are the type of companies people want to associate themselves with. The other part of it is the strategy around purpose is also looking at things like ESG, corporate social responsibility, what you're doing for your community, the SDGs, the UN SDGs. So all of that rolled into, that one purpose-driven culture for your business. And that will also attract investors. I believe another tremendous number, I'm not going to quote it because I don't know it 100% for sure, of investors are wanting to see an ESG or sustainable business practices, a strategy for either one of those within your company before they'll invest. And also clients now are tying themselves to companies that are purpose driven or have a, corporate social responsibility, ESG, and sustainability strategy. So I think just from a future, getting the talent, finding the clients, and getting the investment, those things will require you to take a look at this.
I agree with everything that you shared. Thank you. I believe it just simply starts at the top with the leadership, with the vision, and then you work through figuring out how to apply all these initiatives. And I know personally, I'm in the financial services business, and the early stage of my career, I was very focused on the technical, how to save money in taxes, how to do this with investments, how to move things around and help people with their personal finances. But as I evolved over the years, I became more focused on what's the purpose of the money? What does a fulfilled life look like? How does money become the support system of what the value set of the individuals and families and how they manage their wealth and create an impact on the world? So I think it's an important internal conversation that we all have and reflect on how we can make the greatest impact in the space that we're in. Earlier, before we started, you were sharing some feedback about a recent retreat that you experienced, and maybe a more reflective or contemplative set of questions about, things are very busy in the world. How do you start to kind of unpack or segment what you should be focused on versus what you could be focused on? Would you mind sharing some of the insight and learning that you brought from that recent retreat?
Yeah, certainly. I'd love to. It was with, interestingly enough, do you know Jack Daly?
Yes.
Yeah. So the retreat was with Jack Daly, and he has, pivoted himself. Well, I wouldn't say pivoted, but shifted his thought process as well, because as you know, he is like a phenomenal salesperson, and he has done many, many talks, presentations, everything else about, how to sell more, how to be more successful in sales and business development. And that he came to this retreat with a whole different, like you said, reflective sort of purpose around what the intentions were for this retreat. And he calls it life by design. And it's about looking at the things that you're doing in your life. And of course, at this stage of my life now, I've gone through, most of my career, and I'm on the journey to sort of legacy, right? Where do I want to end up? What's the end game, right? And looking forward and seeing that vision instead of your younger vision when, you first start a business or, a startup or you're scaling, and it's about growth. It's about prosperity. It's about profit. It's about investment. It's about all of these things. And today it's, for me at least, it's more about, how do I want to leave this world, and what do I want to contribute, and what do I want people to say about those contributions, to ensure that I'm helping others, that I'm, putting myself out there, to be able to raise the bar from a moral, ethical standpoint, everything else, to that point in my life. So I think it's more about looking at how much I'm still in my business, how much effort and energy I'm putting into these things that may not sort of align themselves, I would say, with my new vision. So I guess it's about really sitting down and, like you said, being reflective and finding out where you need to push things off, or where you need to help others, sort of take on those obligations and those responsibilities, and where you can step back and really be more of, that provider of experience, advice, and, take your time and do the things that you want to do with them. And, some of those things may not have anything to do with work. It might be, I really need to have more rest. The other person I talked to you about earlier, Dr. Shimi Kang, talks about these things that we have to do in order to mentally help ourselves actually be better, more productive, and have a better life. And one of those things is sleep and rest. We're certainly not getting enough of that. The second thing is play. Like, I don't know the last time I used that word, so to play. And Jack is sort of talking about the same thing. Why aren't we spending more of our time playing? And actually playing, releases the, dopamine and, those endorphins. Dopamine creates happiness. Endorphins creates confidence. And we shouldn't be so worried about letting these other pieces of our life go.
I love it. Desiree, it's been a pleasure spending time with you and Day in a Canoe. And congratulations on the success that you've had in your career. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for the impact that you're making on the lives of so many people.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening and tuning in to Day in a Canoe. We're thrilled to have you as part of our community. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and share it with your friends and loved ones. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on social media platforms by searching Day in a Canoe. We'll see you next time.